She remained surprisingly calm, showing little fear or remorse for her serious offense as the judge read her sentence. Sierra directly accused her late father of sexual abuse, harassment, and physical violence over a long period of time. The defense argued that Sierra's actions were not driven entirely by cruelty, but by deep psychological wounds that had built up inside her family environment. They also argued that there had to be some extreme reason that could push a child towards such a disturbing act. The defense was slowly gaining ground. So, let's listen to the full story and see whether her explanations and her attorney's arguments truly hold up. But then the prosecution revealed evidence from a self-recorded video, DNA found on the tools connected to the crime, and surveillance footage.
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Whoa! Don't put that on the camera.
And everything changed. What you are about to see is the moment Sierra and Aaron realized that planning to take her own father's life and trying to stage the scene afterward would not allow them to escape responsibility. A young father was dead, and the truth about what really happened inside Daniel Halseth's home in a quiet neighborhood in northwest Las Vegas, Nevada, was beginning to come out. This is a disturbing and deeply troubling case about a teenage couple who crossed a dangerous line in order to get past the people trying to keep them apart and stay together. And every detail you are about to witness has been verified through their self-recorded video, DNA found on the tools connected to the crime, testimony presented in court, and the judge's sentencing decision. If you've never heard this story before, prepare yourself, because what happened in northwest Las Vegas, Nevada on the 9th of April 2021 will challenge everything you think you know about family betrayal and how far someone can go to protect a blind obsession. To understand why Sierra and Aaron ended up in that courtroom, you have to understand the reason and motive that had not been fully revealed before, the one that led her to commit the crime. And the full details of what happened in this case will leave you stunned. First, we will take a brief look at the people involved so we can understand the story more clearly. In northwest Las Vegas, Daniel Halseth was known first as a father. He was 45 years old, living in Nevada, and trying to keep his family life steady through a period that had already brought strain. People who knew him described him as someone whose children mattered deeply to him. His daughter, Sierra Halseth, was 16. Like many teenagers, she wanted space, freedom, and control over her own choices. But behind the ordinary outline of a father and daughter was a conflict that had been growing for months. Sierra had been in a relationship with Aaron Guerrero, who was 18 at the time. According to court records later cited in local reporting, the relationship had started in 2020 and became a serious concern for both families. Daniel learned that Sierra and Aaron had discussed running away together to Los Angeles. Once that plan came to light, he contacted Aaron's family. The adults on both sides agreed the two should no longer see each other or communicate. To Daniel, it was a protective decision. To Sierra and Aaron, it appears to have become a barrier they did not accept. By early April of 2021, that tension had not disappeared. On April 8, one day before Daniel was found, Aaron left his home. In the hours that followed, investigators later said Sierra and Aaron went to stores near Daniel's house and bought items that would become important to the case. The purchases included a circular saw blades, bleach, flammable material, disposable gloves, and a drop cloth. Surveillance footage from Home Depot reportedly showed Aaron buying some of those items. ATM footage later showed Sierra using Daniel's debit card. These actions would become part of the timeline prosecutors used to show preparation, movement, and an effort to leave Nevada after the crime. Inside Daniel's home, the final hours have not been publicly reconstructed through a full recording or a complete confession transcript. What is known comes from court records, physical evidence, and the guilty pleas that followed. According to prosecutors, Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero caused Daniel's death inside his Las Vegas home. He suffered sharp force injuries. Afterward, his body was placed in a sleeping bag, and a fire was set in an apparent attempt to conceal evidence. The house did not burn down completely, but the fire left visible damage, and became one of the clearest signs that something inside the home had gone terribly wrong. As the hours passed, Daniel's family grew alarmed. He was not responding to calls or messages. His work, relatives, and former spouse had all tried to reach him without success. His mother, Christine Halseth, was in Oregon, but distance did not soften her concern. She knew her son. She knew his routine. She also knew he lived with his teenage daughter, and that Sierra was not giving clear answers. Christine tried to contact Sierra and asked where Daniel was. According to reports based on court documents, Sierra gave explanations that did not calm the family. At one point, she said Daniel's phone was not working. Later, when Christine wanted to speak directly to him, Sierra said he was in the shower. When Christine warned that she would call police, Sierra ended the call. Less than 20 minutes later, surveillance footage captured a Nissan Altima matching Daniel's vehicle leaving the area at about 1:46 p.m. On the 9th of April 2021, Christine called 911 and requested a welfare check at Daniel's home. She told dispatchers that Daniel had been unreachable for about 2 days. She explained that his job, family members, and others had tried to contact him, but no one had been able to speak with him. She also mentioned unusual ATM withdrawals in different locations. Those financial details added urgency to her concern. This was no longer just a father missing a phone call. To Christine, the situation suggested that something was seriously wrong. Christine also reached out to Peggy Newman, Daniel's friend and landlord, and asked her to check the house. Peggy did not want to enter alone, so she waited for another person to join her. When they arrived at the residence, the front door was unlocked. Inside, they noticed the smell of smoke and signs that a fire had burned in the living area. They searched through the house, hoping to find Daniel alive or at least find an explanation. Instead, they found him in the garage area. A second 911 call followed, reporting that there had been a fire and that a body had been found inside the home. Las Vegas police responded to Daniel's house near Durango Drive and Alta Drive. What they found shifted the matter from a welfare check to a homicide investigation. Daniel was in the garage. The scene showed signs of fire damage and possible efforts to destroy or hide evidence. Officers secured the residence and began treating it as a crime scene. The condition of the house, the lack of contact from Daniel, the missing vehicle, and the presence of items connected to recent purchases gave investigators several immediate questions. The search of the home produced evidence that would later appear in court records. Investigators found receipts from Home Depot and ATM transactions. They also located items believed to be connected to the attack and the attempt to conceal evidence. Reporting later described 2 folding knives in the kitchen sink, a circular saw on a table, and a chainsaw in the living room. The existence of those items did not stand alone. They connected to store footage, purchase records, and the timeline of Sierra and Aaron's movements before and after Daniel's death. The medical examination gave investigators another critical layer of evidence. Daniel's death was determined to be a homicide caused by sharp force injuries. Local reporting cited an autopsy report describing approximately 70 sharp force injuries, many of them to the head, neck, and torso. The report also stated that his body had been placed in a sleeping bag before the fire caused damage to a significant portion of his body. These findings showed that Daniel's death was not accidental, and they helped prosecutors define the severity of the case. As detectives examined the evidence, Sierra and Aaron quickly became the focus. Both had disappeared from the area. Daniel's blue Nissan Altima was also gone. Sierra had been communicating with relatives in a way that suggested she was trying to delay discovery. According to reports, when people asked about Daniel, she gave explanations about his phone or said he was unavailable. Then she stopped responding. Those responses, combined with the missing car, the store purchases, and the ATM activity, pointed investigators toward the teenage couple. The trail did not end in Las Vegas. Detectives used surveillance footage and transaction records to follow the pair after they left Nevada. The Nissan Altima was a key part of that movement. Investigators also looked at ATM withdrawals and other records that showed the use of Daniel's property after his death. Each piece was part of a larger map. The case was no longer only about what happened inside the house. It had become a search across state lines. After leaving Las Vegas, Sierra and Aaron did not disappear into a private hideout. Their trail moved into public view in Salt Lake City, Utah. By the 13th of April 2021, investigators had enough information to alert law enforcement outside Nevada, and the search reached the public transit system in Salt Lake City. Surveillance footage later released from the Utah Transit Authority showed the pair moving through the transit network early that morning. They were first seen at about 5:49 a.m., sitting close together, talking, and waiting on platforms. Over the next several hours, they moved from one place to another, getting on and off buses and trains multiple times. According to the released footage described in local reporting, between about 5:50 a.m. and 8:40 a.m., they changed locations at least 10 times. Their behavior did not look like two people expecting police to step in at any moment. At one point, after spending more than an hour sleeping on a bus, they were seen near the front of another bus, laughing and kissing. A few minutes later, 2 officers boarded. Sierra and Aaron did not appear to react immediately. The footage had no audio, so the exact words spoken by the officers have not been made public, but the video shows the moment the search closed in. At about 8:29 a.m., one officer approached the couple and began speaking with them. Within moments, the conversation ended with Sierra and Aaron being let off the bus. Officers placed them in handcuffs. By about 8:40 a.m., both were being escorted through the transit system, each accompanied by an officer. Their flight from Las Vegas was over. The arrest did not come from one dramatic confrontation. It came from patient tracking. Investigators had followed the evidence from Daniel Halseth's home, to the missing vehicle, to financial activity, to surveillance footage, and finally, to a public transit route hundreds of miles away. In Salt Lake City, the same cameras that captured Sierra and Aaron moving from platform to platform also captured the final minutes before they were taken into custody. One detail drew particular public attention after the arrests. Investigators recovered a video from Sierra's phone in which she and Aaron appeared to discuss the case after Daniel's death.
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After
Day
murdering, day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on the camera.
In reporting on the video, local media described Aaron speaking in the style of a social media introduction and referring to the days after taking someone's life. Sierra responded by telling him not to put that on camera. The video became part of the prosecution's file and helped explain why the case received so much public attention. It was not the only evidence, but it showed behavior after the crime that investigators considered relevant. Detectives relied on physical evidence, surveillance footage, financial records, phone records, family reports, autopsy findings, and the video found on Sierra's phone. Together, those facts gave prosecutors a path from the initial welfare check to formal criminal charges. The public record also showed how quickly a family concern became a documented chain of evidence. Each ordinary detail gained new meaning after the discovery. A missed call, a text message, a store receipt, a bank withdrawal, and a vehicle leaving the neighborhood. None of those details alone told the whole story. Together, they gave detectives the sequence they needed to understand what had happened and where the suspects had gone in the hours after. By late May 2021, the case moved into the court system in a more formal way. A grand jury indicted Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero on multiple charges, including murder, conspiracy, arson, robbery, and fraudulent use of a credit card. On the 25th of June 2021, both appeared in court and initially pleaded not guilty. Judge Sierra Jones set the case on a path toward trial. Prosecutors also stated they would not seek the death penalty against Aaron Guerrero. Sierra, because she was a juvenile at the time of the offense, faced a separate legal framework, but she was still charged in connection with the same homicide. For months, the case continued through pretrial proceedings. The evidence remained extensive. Prosecutors had the timeline of the relationship and the family's attempt to separate the pair. They had the purchases made before Daniel was found. They had surveillance footage from Home Depot and ATM locations. They had the report of Christine Halseth's 911 call. They had Peggy Newman's discovery of the house and the condition of the garage. They had the medical examiner's findings. They had proof that Daniel's car and debit card were used as Sierra and Aaron left the state. And they had the video from Sierra's phone. On the 25th of May 2022, the direction of the case changed. Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero pleaded guilty to 9 charges, including murder, arson, and robbery. The guilty pleas meant the case would not proceed to a full jury trial. It also meant both defendants accepted legal responsibility for Daniel's death, the fire set inside the home, and the use of his property during their attempt to get away. For Daniel's family, the pleas answered one part of the case, but they could not undo the loss or remove the details they had already learned. The sentencing hearing took place on the 20th of October 2022. Family members were present in court. Sierra and Aaron appeared with their attorneys. By that point, the court had the guilty pleas, the evidence summary, and the impact of the crime before it. The hearing was not only about legal punishment, it was also the moment when the court had to confront the full weight of a case involving a father, his teenage daughter, and the young man who had joined her in the crime. Judge Sierra Jones described the situation as tragic before imposing the sentence. Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero were each sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 22 years. The shorthand often used for that sentence is 22 years to life. The court also ordered them to pay restitution of $5,000. The sentence closed the central criminal case in Nevada, but it left behind a story that remained difficult for the public to process. In the end, the court records and guilty pleas established the legal truth. Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero were responsible for Daniel Halseth's death and for the acts that followed. What made the case so unsettling was how close everyone was to the center of it. Daniel was not targeted by someone outside his life. He was attacked inside his own home, and the people accused were his teenage daughter and the boyfriend her family had tried to keep away. For investigators, it was a criminal case. For Daniel's family, it was a collapse from inside the home. Those facts make the case more difficult, not less. The Nevada proceedings ended with guilty pleas and life sentences with parole eligibility after 22 years. Yet the lasting weight of the case sits in the gap between ordinary family concern and irreversible harm. Christine Halseth's 911 call began as a request to check on a son who had gone silent. By the time police arrived, the family's worst fear had become a criminal investigation. From there, each piece of evidence moved the case forward, until the courtroom finally gave it a legal ending. For the people who knew Daniel, however, the legal ending could never fully answer the personal loss. The strongest message from the Daniel Halseth case is that danger inside a family does not always arrive suddenly. It can build quietly, through ignored warnings, broken trust, secrecy, and decisions that seem small until they become part of something irreversible. Daniel tried to protect his daughter from a relationship he believed was unsafe. But the conflict did not end when the family stepped in. It moved underground, away from adult supervision, until it reached a point no one could take back. The lesson is that serious family conflict should never be treated as private drama when warning signs keep escalating. Parents, relatives, schools, and communities need to respond early. When teenagers talk about running away, cut themselves off from supervision, or become involved in relationships that bring risk and deception, intervention is not about control. It is about safety. Daniel's death also shows how quickly one person's choices can leave permanent consequences for everyone around them. A court can deliver a sentence, but it cannot restore a father's life or undo the damage left behind. The only prevention begins before crisis becomes evidence, before concern becomes a 911 call, and before a family reaches the point of no return.